Hello, my name is Gordon Fadun, and today I would just like to tell you my testimony, how I became a Christian, how I got saved. I was not raised up in a Christian home. My parents did not go to church, and consequently, I did not go to Sunday school. But I had good parents. They taught me the difference between right and wrong, and I knew the difference between right and wrong. But there was nothing in the house ever said about God. When I was young, I was like every other child. I enjoyed sports. I had many good friends. But when I became around 12 years old, I started to hang out with the wrong crowd, the wrong friends. Two friends were very evil and both died as teenagers. I started out with substance abuse, with sniffing nail polish remover. I really enjoyed that. Smoked marijuana, and then we got into other things like hash and LSD pills. At, at one time, taking LSD, I thought I was going to die. And that at that point really spoke to me that what is this all about? At the same time, around the same age, I started to steal. First, small things like valve cap stems from the tires of cars, but that led into bigger things, breaking into cars, taking things that we didn't need, just take things out, throw it, throw it into the bushes. And then it changed to stealing cars for no reason, and then breaking into houses and things like that. Um, it was real bad. Um, I have been caught for breaking into houses and charged, and that's behind me now. No wonder my dad, at that period of time, had two strokes, and my friend's dad across the street had a heart attack. Police were always at my house, and that wasn't a good thing for my parents either. The first time I ever prayed, I was about 16 years old when a friend of mine went missing. And I'll give you the background with that. We were at another friend's house and we were underage and we were going to have a party and we were going to drink. And this one friend, Greg Lacroix, was at the house and he was depressed. So I decided that I would help him out with his depression. I loaned him $3.05 so that he could buy a case of 12 of beer. Uh, I did not really know that alcohol doesn't make you feel better. It's a depression also. He left the party at around midnight, and the next time I saw him, it was his body in a casket. That night, he left the party and he committed suicide by drowning himself in the Red River on a cold night in November. So that was very tragic for me. When I was about 19 years old, I started to work at a job with the Manitoba Government Department of Highways. There I met a lovely woman by the name of Ruth, who I later married. She used to preach to me, and we had many discussions. She would preach to me about salvation, about God, about needing to be saved. One day, Ruth heard that I was planning to go to a wedding in Saskatchewan, and Ruth was from Saskatchewan, so she asked if she could get a ride. And we had room, so we said, yes, you can have a ride. On the way back, I made a commitment to go out with Ruth. I worked with her at work, made a commitment to go out with her. The problem was I had two other girlfriends at the time. So I thought it'd be better off if I stick with Ruth because our desks were touching each other at work, and I sort of ditched, as it were, it's an awful way to describe it, the other two girls. Looking back, I was a real coward on that. So we started going out, and then Ruth advised me there was going to be some special gospel meetings at the gospel hall, and the meetings would be every night except for Saturday nights. I wasn't too excited about that. I wasn't interested in the gospel. I wasn't interested in going to church. I was interested in Ruth. But I went to a few of the meetings. I didn't learn anything. All of a sudden, I became an atheist, a skeptic, that I did not believe in God. But you know, the big changing point in my life happened when I was at a woman's house. Her name's Florence Ronald, an apartment on Ellis. She had Ruth and I over for supper. And that night she convinced me that evolution was false and creation by God was true. She said if evolution was true, why don't we see the evidence of evolution today? Why don't we see lower forms of life progressing to higher forms of life? Why don't we see that today? And I never thought about that. From that point in time, I believed in God. But I didn't understand how to get saved. And I went through this turmoil of trying to get saved, not able to understand it. That went on for about a year. I even preached to other people, telling them that they needed to be saved. But me, myself, I was not saved. I finally got saved in Saskatchewan at Ruth's parents' house in Taylorside, Melfort, Saskatchewan. There was a text on the wall, a picture, with John 3:16 on it. Ruth had advised me that the next day we would be going to church, and I would be in Rob Forsyth's Sunday school class, and everybody would have to recite a verse from memory. So I decided I was going to memorize John 3:16, the text in the wall in the basement. For God so loved the world. Well, that day I realized that I was in the world. That's me. God loved me. What did he do? He gave his only begotten Son. What does that mean? The cross. Jesus Christ on the cross. He paid the penalty, the full penalty for my sins on the cross, that I would not have to bear that penalty, would not be judged for it. And I realized that he loved me, he gave himself for me, he did all the work, and that whosoever or whoever, and I said, well, that's me. That's me. He loved me, that if I only believed in him, I would not perish, would not see hell, but I'd have everlasting life. That day, I put my name into John 3:16, that God loved me. He gave himself for me, and I trusted him. Somebody that I've never seen before, but I just believed in him, that it's true, that he died for me on the cross. And God has completely changed my life, and he continues to change my life. I can always face tomorrow because I know the one who controls tomorrow, who controls the future. God is with me at all times, and he helps me through the many problems that I have. Yes, we all have problems, but I have God that can help me with my problems. I love the Lord Jesus Christ, and I look forward to serving him forever in heaven. So that's my testimony.